Hi, angel babies. It's BB, aka Pure Red Velvet. And I'm really excited to film this video today. I don't know exactly how it's gonna go. It's my first try at this specifically. And you might be thinking, what is this specifically? Maybe you've gotten the gist from the title of the video, but I am going to be following the Venus transits in 2024, and I'm starting, depending on when you're seeing this, around right now, December 29th. I'm filming it on the 27th. I don't know exactly when it's gonna go up. I will try my hardest to get it out immediately. But I will link my video where I am setting up my planner for 2024. It's really more of a journal. It's my traveler's notebook, and I'm going through and getting it ready for my practices in 2024. I don't think I set up this practice specifically though, because I'm going to be doing this weekly. So maybe that will be something I will do ASAP. I need to go to the store. I need to get a new journal for this practice specifically. But in that video, I go through some of my other journals and also like options for this one, but I just not one journal that I already own is one that's perfect for this. So I don't know, keep an eye out for a video where I walk you through a new journal of mine to do maybe like weekly journaling on Venus and where it's at in the sky and how it's affecting me and the readings that I do. So yeah, okay, let's get into it. I have a prompt. So if you'd like to follow with me, I will be doing a video for each Venus transit. So it's about a month long, maybe a little less, all through 2024. And I will be prompting you with information, keywords, muses, tarot cards, book recommendations, deck recommendations, a spread, and then obviously all the references that I've used to gather this information will be in the description box below. So let's start out with, what's Venus? What energy is Venus and what does it represent? Venus in the natal chart represents the romantic self, sensual self, style of creative expression, aesthetic taste, how one attracts and what one is attracted to, as well as our personal value system. And the sign that it falls in reflects its character. So the sign that it's falling in during this transit, starting December 29th and ending January 23rd of 2024, is Sagittarius. I'm gonna go ahead and read a little bit about what the Sagittarius energy means for us this end of the year and beginning of the new year. Heading into 2024, we'll feel far more likely to get out of our shells. Venus in Sagittarius not only brings a relaxing vibe to all things Venus rules, pleasure, relationships, money, it also feels like a great opportunity to take risks and explore the world around us. We will desire to experience life to the fullest. Some of us might even book that trip to the other side of the globe, as this planet sign combination instigates exploration, adventure, and a true thirst for discovery. Venus in Sagittarius is bringing us a more carefree vibe to our relationships, meaning our focus will be mainly on having fun and experiencing things together. Over the next few weeks, commitment can feel evasive. Sagittarius loves to share its opinions, thoughts, and beliefs, so you may feel called to advocate for causes that you believe in. Relating with others and engaging in dialogue has the potential to shift your personal perspective and worldview over the coming weeks. Sagittarius is a fire sign connected to Jupiter and the 9th house of expansion. It's all about personal growth. Having spontaneous and curious qualities and moving out of Scorpio and into Sagittarius, Venus can have us feeling more playful and open comparatively. Sagittarius is deeply independent. While this may feel oppositional to the cooperative, partner-oriented energy of Venus, it won't feel conflicting. This transit will have us needing more freedom in our commitments. Honesty and straightforwardness will also be important themes of this transit, as Sagittarius energy is all about truth. As Venus enters Sagittarius, every sign of the zodiac may be feeling more open to the universe, relationships, opportunities, and more. Sagittarius is a sign of action and future, of possibilities and optimism. When Venus aligns with this zodiac sign, we can explore love with an open, independent heart. Okay, so that's a little bit about Venus and Sagittarius. So what I want to say is that you can use this information and apply it to a tarot practice in any way that feels right for you. Like I said, I'm going to have a journal. I'll probably be free, like thinking, journaling, like stream of consciousness. And I'll probably be pairing that with specific spreads that I'm doing, and also considering maybe my general spreads in the filter of where Venus sits in my chart. So Sagittarius is the ruler of my 5th house, and we'll get into houses. If you don't know how to do your birth chart, I'll leave a link below to be able to find out what your house is too. I would think of it this way. The planet is the energy. So the things that it rules that we discussed in the beginning of the video. Sagittarius is the personality, right? And then the house is where all of that plays out. So if Venus is the planet of values and Sagittarius values freedom, independence, and truth, that's what you're going to be putting a magnifying glass on, or the energy that's going to be intensified during this transit. And then once you know which house Sagittarius rules in your chart, then you will know where specifically that energy will be activated the most. So keywords for this transit are adventure, independence, and higher knowledge. I have a little cheat sheet of the houses, and I am going to put it on the screen here so you can check to see which house your Sagittarius is in. So when you do your birth chart and it's a circle, you're going to find the Sagittarius glyph, and then you're going to look to the middle of the pie, and it's going to have a number, and that number is the house that it's in. So then you'll be able to look up what area of your life Sagittarius in Venus is affecting the most. Let's move on. So my next category is Muses. So I listed a bunch of celebrities. That's kind of, I don't know, my template right now. If you have any suggestions for Muses, I'm very open to that. But I have a kind of a long list, and there were probably like over 1,500 celebrities with Venus and Sagittarius, and being like an elder millennial, it was like really hard for me to know like which to choose, because I'm like, okay, the ones that like I'm drawn to aren't necessarily the ones that maybe you'll be drawn to, depending on if you are Gen Z or Gen Y or a boomer, etc. Oh, I'm Gen Y. I mean Gen Z or Gen X or a boomer, etc. But I tried to put a good mix in. So some celebrities with Venus and Sagittarius are Taylor Swift, Khalil Gibran, Tilda Swinton, Rudyard Kipling, Jeff Goldblum, Nicki Minaj, Jimmy Page, Aishwarya Rai Bachchan, Samuel L. Jackson, Bella Thorne, Hayao Miyazaki, Vanessa Paradis, Steven Soderbergh, Veronica Lake, Sam Cooke, Mark Twain, Dorothy Dandridge, Lewis Carroll, Hedy Lamarr, Willow Smith, and Meg White. I also have some book recommendations. I found these from a few different lists, or I think just 2 different lists of Sagittarius recommendations, but I narrowed it down even further to things that I think embodied Venus specifically in Sagittarius. So we have Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. Combat nurse Claire Randall has just returned from her time at war for a long overdue honeymoon with her husband when she is accidentally transported through time via a standing stone in the British Isles. Claire finds herself an outlander in 1700s Scotland, surrounded by spies, secrets, and treachery, and the dashing and irresistible James Fraser, a young Scots warrior who makes Claire question her morals and her choice in husband. Please forgive me if I'm ruining these names. I don't know authors' names very well. Eat, Pray, Love, Elizabeth Gilbert. Elizabeth Gilbert's immensely popular memoir follows the cultural journey she propels herself on after spiraling into a depression in her 30s. Following a divorce, a second failed relationship, and the existential panic that she wasn't happy with the successful career she'd always dreamed of, Elizabeth threw caution to the wind and went off on a year-long journey of self-discovery. On the Road, Jack Kerouac. On the Road is a retelling of Jack Kerouac's years spent traveling North America with his friend Neil Cassidy, told through the characters of Sal Paradise and Dean Moriarty. On the Road is a defining work of the counterculture movement, representative of the Beat generation. Beat writers rebelled against societal standards in the post-war era. On the Road is testament to the mass journey for self-discovery embarked upon by the silent generation, providing readers with a travel story along a backdrop of jazz, drugs, the forbidden, and a sense of unrefined escape. Wandering in Strange Lands by Morgan Jenkins. Jerkins takes an odyssey through the United States to trace her family's migration from the South to where they ultimately ended up in New Jersey, Oklahoma, and California. Wandering in Strange Lands is a personal account reflecting on the effects of the Great Migration, during which 6 million Black Americans left the South. Part memoir, part investigative reporting, and part history book, Wandering in Strange Lands is all eye-opening. Burning Questions, Margaret Atwood. Margaret Atwood will match your curiosity with this collection of brilliant essays on everything from debt to tech to freedom, stories, authoritarianism, and zombies. Vagabonds by Elagosa Osunde. Set in Lagos, Nigeria, where those who differ from established norms because of their sexuality, poverty, or spirituality are literally outlawed, Vagabonds follows characters who make lives for themselves in the underground. A celebrated fashion designer who has an otherworldly experience, the driver for a corrupt politician, a lesbian couple with ties to the sex worker community, and a woman attending a secret spiritual gathering, all contend with the darker spirits of the city as they attempt to overcome their various tribulations. Okay, on to our deck recommendations. So I pulled a handful of tarot and 2 oracle. The first one I have is the Dark Days Tarot. I tried to include ones that were in print, obviously, and then at least a couple mass market decks. So the Dark Days is beautiful, has a very free-spirited vibe to it, which reminds me of a Venus and Sagittarius. It's definitely kind of a crown chakra, I would say, deck, at least in moments. It has a fantasy aspect to it. It's combining the spiritual with the earthy. But there's a lot of action, independence, expansion, inner exploration and adventure in this deck. And I see a lot of that here. I mean, are you a Venus and Sagittarius deck if you don't have a naked person on the back of a whale? I don't know. So that's my first choice. Next, I have the Gift of Life Tarot. Sorry, it was blurry for a second. The Gift of Life Tarot just reminds me of Sagittarius in the fact that it is altruistic, it is a traveler. The 9th house also rules foreign lands and higher education, and that's associated with Sagittarius. And I just find that like world traveler. I don't know, the term world traveler definitely brings up Sagittarius for me. I feel like this deck also has a lot of heart, a lot of values, a lot of family and community in it. So it feels very Venus to me in that way. And yeah, a lot of humanity. Just look at like the spirit of these people. This is very Sagittarius spirit, you know, just like, I feel like a Sagittarius's heart is always in summer, which is so funny because their birthday is in winter. So that is the Gift of Life Tarot by Alice Smeets. The third deck I have is the Lucid Dreams Tarot by Saint Soleil. This is the Eclipse edition. When I see this deck, I think of high vibe, spiritual, but a lot of like almost academic knowledge, because there are a lot of cultural, historical references in here. And the fact that there are so many symbols on the cards and keywords on the cards, it feels almost academic, right? But not in an education necessarily, like sitting down behind a computer, not experiencing anything. It's almost a intellectual, spiritual, somatic type of education. Oh, you've got some upside downies. Upside downies. I feel like freedom is freedom of like knowledge and information. This feels like a very, and it even says, I cut myself off, it even says in the name of the deck, like it's a very beginner friendly deck. So it's very democratic. Like I feel like Sagittarius is the opposite of like a gatekeeper when it comes to knowledge like this. So I thought this was a really fun pick for Venus and Sagittarius. And then you also get like the Venus sensual vibe from this, as well as like the tactile. It does feel luxurious and beautiful, you know? I just want to say too that like if you don't have any of these decks, but they remind you of decks that you do own, or if the way that I'm describing them reminds you of things that you own, use that. There are no rules to this. I think people get really scared of astrology because there is a lot of depth to it, but it's the same as tarot. So if you read tarot, you started somewhere, you know, and maybe you just started with that. Like there are so many levels and like there's so much, you know, like so much ocean to dive down into. And it's the same with astrology. You can stay in the shallow end for a while. I don't think that there is a right or a wrong way to explore energies of signs and of planets, and all you can do is learn, you know, and play, and especially in your own personal practice. Like who gives a crap, right? Like who cares? It's just for you, you know. Next, I have the Odyssean Tarot. This was a Kickstarter, but it's on Etsy now. And I mean, I chose this for the Odyssey, right? Oh man, I kind of want to keep it in order. Okay, so maybe I'll just, because I'm going to do a walkthrough of this one. Sorry, there's a plane overhead if you hear it. They're, again, like Odyssean, Greek, Roman. These are like, this is the time and like civilization of the creation of astrology and the creation of philosophy. And I find that so fitting for Sagittarius and Venus and Sagittarius specifically. This feels like, you know, a high art deck, which is very Venusian to me. Just tapping into the softness, the tenderness, the aesthetic, what we attract, what we're attracted to. You know, wanting to feel sensual when you're, and just like connected to yourself and your body and the world, right? And this is the type of deck where you can actually learn something too. It comes with a very large book with lots of information. And, you know, Sagittarius is going to be a student if they're anything. So that is my fourth choice, the Odyssean Tarot. The last tarot I have is the Tarot of the 1001 Nights. I mean, this has sensuality and also adventure, right, written all over it. It's so beautiful. Again, talking about ancient knowledge, right? I love the piece of trivia that it's the Arabic culture that invented algebra. It makes so much sense. It's an ancient culture that was so advanced in so many ways, just like Greece and Rome. And the fairy tales and folklore of the adventures of Aladdin and Alibaba and things like that are pictured here are just so embedded in our culture. And it's really cool because it's an example of how stories from all around the world can travel across the planet and be interwoven into the zeitgeist and like the cultural threads of a completely different group of people, you know? But I love the storybook element and the romantic element. It's obviously a very Venus deck. And yeah, I think the fact that it's made up of these stories of adventurers and romance is really fitting. I have a couple of Venus and Sagittarius friends, and they really do need that sense of adventure in their relationships and even in their friendships. They kind of seek it. They like to be independent, but they also like to be able to stay and be interested or stay interested in a partner. They need constant stimulation and adventure, which I think there's nothing wrong with. Okay, I have two oracle decks. The first one is the Tantric Dakini Oracle, which, as we know, is technically also a tarot, but this oracle just feels like it knows a lot of stuff that I don't. A lot of esoteric stuff, a lot of really cool spiritual stuff, and cosmic stuff. And I feel like those are the types of subjects that a Sagittarius is looking to find the answers to. The questions, the big questions, the questions of the world. Why are we here? You know, what does it all mean? What is my purpose? That kind of thing. And so I feel like this is a very fitting deck for those types of themes and feelings. And it's just a pleasure to look at. So I think we've covered the Venus aspect too. And the last deck recommendation that I have is Runners of the Sun, which is an independent deck, but I believe it still is in print. This one has the same kind of feeling. I guess what drives my choices in all of these is kind of like, you know, the underlying, the common denominator is knowledge. And I feel like no matter what kind of knowledge that is, like we had some like historical and some spiritual, this feels kind of ancestral and kind of an inner knowing, getting to know yourself and being introspective. All of these decks remind me of how beautiful and varying and unique the world is. And I feel like that's kind of what this vibe is about. So yeah, that is the Runners of the Sun, short and sweet, but I think by now, after all of these decks, you get the picture and why this one would be good company for the rest of them. So I did also choose a tarot spread recommendation by New Age Hipster, and I will link it below, but I'll show a photo of it here. It is 5 cards, and it is for Sagittarius season, but I chose this one specifically because I really liked the questions and I felt like they could apply regardless of where Sagittarius is located in your chart. So card number 1 is what adventures are calling. Card number 2, what is changing? Number 3, what wisdom are you learning? Number 4, how can you align your energy to what you really want? Number 5, how can you make it happen? So that's it. Those are my prompts. That's the information that I have for you today. I am going to go to the store and probably start setting up my journal. Maybe I'll put this information in the front and then I'll do my first reading on the 29th. Again, I don't know when I'm posting this, so I might be doing it today. I don't know. But I will check in, let's say about halfway through, and we can talk about how it's going. If you have suggestions or additional information, or I don't know, if you want to put how you think you might use this in your own practice, or if you just want to say, hi, I want to do this too, that would be so cool. If you're not interested, totally fine. Please click off, give it a like if you want. If not, no biggie. But I think this is going to be really fun. And if you want more information about your house, let me know. If you need help with that, let me know. Or if you want to comment which house your Sagittarius is in, I can tell you maybe what areas you want to focus on. I mean, the graphic should do the trick, but if you're having a hard time like wrapping your head around it, I know that like I didn't learn about houses or kind of retain information about houses until like far into, studying astrology, or just even just casually being into astrology. So I want to thank you for being curious. Thanks for being my friend. Thanks for being here. And my mom's coming. I gotta go.